Hi, my name is Skylar Weatherford, and this is my informational speech of the SS United States. As many of us know, we are all familiar with airplanes and many ways to travel around. Many airline companies offer trips to different countries across the world, like to Europe or Asia, or any countries overseas. But long before air travel and crossing to many different countries was so easily accessible, there was only one main way to cross and go to different countries, and they were a marvelous thing called ocean liners. The modern-day cruise ship is very different from the old ocean liners in size, look, and in speed. Almost every country in the world had their own ocean liner. Many of you can identify how each country has their own sports team. Every few years, all the countries get to compete in the Olympics and see which country is the greatest. Think of these ocean liners as the country's sports team. It was a symbol of national pride for that country and was represented on a global scale. Many nations held the prize for the largest, most luxurious, and longest, but the United States stood out as a country that had the fastest ocean liner. Now, before planes, the ocean liner was used as a main mode of transportation to go cross countries, and whichever was the fastest liner, the most people took. Imagine if you wanted to go see your grandma in Europe for a few days. Most likely, you wouldn't want to drive there. That would take forever. You would want to buy a ticket, hop on an airplane, and be in there in a few hours. It was just like this, but except on the ocean. You would want to get to your location the fastest. The SS United States was the fastest passenger liner in the world, crossing the Atlantic at a speed of a passenger train. Most ocean liners at the time could only reach a top speed of about 20 knots. That's about 23 miles per hour. But the SS United States, on the other hand, the pride of America, could reach an absolute amazing speed of 55 knots, which is 63 miles per hour on the water. Can you imagine an object being longer than the Eiffel Tower in Paris, gliding on the water at almost 70 miles per hour? The book SS United States, Fastest Ship in the World, states that it is the fastest ship in the world. The ocean liner was one of the last liners built before airplanes became the main mode of transportation. It was built in 1950 through 1951 for the United States at a cost of about $79.4 million. An American architect named William Francis Gibbs designed the ship, and it could also be converted into a warship to carry troops if required by the Navy in a time of war. The book, A Man in the Ship, states that the story of a great American builder at the peak of his power in the 1940s and 50s, William Francis Gibbs was considered America's best naval architect. His quest since a young boy was to build the finest, fastest, and most beautiful ocean liner of the modern time. The SS United States was the topic of global fascination when completed in 1952. The ship was hailed as a technological masterpiece at a time when Made in America stood for nothing but the absolute best. One of the many secrets that she carried was below the waterline. There were no rivets, making her completely smooth and fast, and helped decrease drag. Also, many other ocean liners were sadly lost to a fire aboard. Many fires rapidly grew among many ships due to amazing amounts of luxurious wood on board. The United States was built with no wood on board, and it holds the record to this day for being the largest structure in the world with the most aluminum. Since aluminum is almost flame-proof and heat-resistant and light, aluminum was chosen to be the metal of choice. The only wood on board the ship was for chopping blocks for the chefs in the kitchen. The designer of the ship, Mr. Gibbs, even had Steinway, the famous piano company, built exclusively for the ship an all-aluminum piano. It could carry around 1,928 passengers, and it was 998 feet long, at a beam or across of 102 inches. Some of the famous cargo it carried was from Europe to America for the 1964-65 New York World's Fair to go on an art exhibit for the public to see. The Mona Lisa and the Michelangelo's David were both on the ship at the same time as it made the long journey across the ocean. That's two of the world's most expensive and famous pieces of art together at the same time, crossing the ocean. That's amazing. It still holds the record to this day for the fastest transatlantic crossing by boat. Because air travel was becoming so popular in the middle 1960s, Many or almost all of them declined, and the companies that used the ocean liners were sold for scrap. Many of the companies that had the world's largest and most luxurious went bankrupt because there was no need anymore to cross-country travel by boat. While most ships were sold for scrap and do not exist anymore to this day, the United States is only one of 4 ocean liners from the golden days that are still with us. The ship has been sold several times since the 1970s, with each new owner trying to make the liner profitable again. Eventually, all the ship's original fittings were sold out at an auction, and they were removed, leaving her almost completely stripped by the 1990s. 2 years later, she was towed to Pier 82 on the Delaware River in Philadelphia, where she remains today. She still remains afloat, but stays empty inside and rusting away on the river. The book The Big Ship by Frank Bernard states that the SS United States is considered the greatest ocean liner this country has ever built. My conclusion is the pride of a nation, the pinnacle of technological and artistic achievement, and a monument to the American can-do spirit. The SS United States represents our common values and strengths in the epic scope and scale of our invention. This is the story of America's flagship, the SS United States in Philadelphia. That was my informational speech. Thank you for watching, and have a good day, Paola Pugs.